Alright, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the warrior and leveling in the new WoW Classic hardcore servers that are coming out soon, and just going over how it's going to go. So if you like this kind of content, be sure to leave me a like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz, and we'll just jump right on into it. I'd love to give you good news about leveling a warrior in a hardcore server, but I just don't have much. Just as an overview of the class, we'll talk about the weaknesses and the strengths. The strengths are that in the end game, the warrior is one of the best classes as far as DPS or tanking goes. They are the best tanks at the end game and probably the easiest DPS class to play at the end game as well. Now, the downsides of that is that during the leveling experience, the warrior is hands down the worst leveling experience you're going to have in this game. Your character is entirely gear dependent, meaning you need to replace your weapon within 3 levels. Every 3 to 4 levels you need to find a weapon upgrade just to make it to where you can continue to kill mobs in a timely manner. And yeah, it's just not a great experience. You don't have the tools to deal with situations that arise when you're leveling. If you pull more than one target when you start a fight, there is a decent chance you will die from it. Literally about the only thing you have going for you that can help you get away and survive a fight early on while you're leveling is hamstring. So you may be able to kill one target, hamstring the second target, and run away and be able to reset the fight. If you can't do that, yeah, there's a good chance you'll die. And God forbid you pull 3 mobs in one pull, it's just gonna get ugly. The only way you can somewhat mitigate this is by making sure that you are fighting mobs that are a level or 2 lower than you, and even then it can still get pretty hard to deal with while you're leveling. This gameplay that I'm showing in the background here, I literally just got this two-handed weapon, and so it's 1 level old. I think it requires a level 13, and I had to buy it off the auction house. So what I will say is that I highly recommend that if you want to level a warrior, make it your second character that you're going to level, and save weapons for your warrior with your first character as you're leveling. That's one thing with the hardcore servers. We think that you're going to be able to send yourself gear from other characters and gold, and that will make leveling a warrior a lot more bearable, at least. I'll also say that's one of the reasons the warrior is one of the most expensive classes to level, because you are entirely gear dependent. You need to be buying and replacing your gear all the time just to keep yourself at the level of what you're doing. I mean, there's just a lot of problems with the warrior. So as you're leveling, you will get overpower and execute are the only two abilities you're going to have early on while you're leveling that are abilities that don't just replace your weapon swing. Heroic Strike all is a decent enough ability, but it just replaces your weapon swing with the Heroic Strike, which is going to do more damage based on your weapon. That's another thing with the warrior is all of their abilities scale off your weapon damage. So if your weapon is 4 or 5 levels old, then you're just not going to be doing enough damage. And yeah, it's definitely a challenge. It's by far the most challenging class to level in WoW Classic. Um, one one thing I will say is that profession wise, I can't really recommend anything but alchemy while you're leveling. Having access to potions all the time is going to make your life a little more bearable. As well as, I think it's level 60 alchemy, you get access to, if you can find the recipe, rage potion, which, yeah, may help you out a little bit. But having constant access to elixirs and potions, always have your elixirs active. I highly recommend leveling cooking with a warrior. You need every buff you can get with a warrior because it's just that bad. Um, in fact, what I was talking about, the overpower and execute being the only abilities, it is level 36, I believe, when you get the whirlwind ability. That is your first attack that you're going to have access to as a warrior that doesn't just replace your weapon swing. So that's how long you have to deal with only having your regular weapon swing, heroic strike, overpower, or execute. And execute you can only use when the enemies are below 20% health. So that being said, it's yeah, it's a pretty big challenge to level a warrior. Um, Talent wise, I'm not even going to go over the talents for the warrior. Um, just because I don't I don't feel like any of the talent choices are significantly better than the others. Um, I mean, I wouldn't run prospect protection specialization while you're leveling. It's going to slow you down horrendously. But Fury and Arms are both viable. Either one will work. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. Just pick whichever one you like and run with it. But yeah, I really don't have a lot good to say about it. Um, but like I said, if you do manage it, the warrior is one of the strongest and easiest DPS classes to play, and hands down the best tank in WoW Classic. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, but it is all the way at the far fucking end of the tunnel. You are through the tunnel before you see the light at the end of it. So, yeah, that's honestly, I really can't recommend leveling a warrior as your first hardcore character. But, I'm sure people will do it. I'm sure a few of them will manage to make it to 60. I mean, it's just, I just don't have a lot good to say about the warrior. I know a lot of people love playing the warrior. I like playing the warrior. I really like tanking as a protection warrior in WoW Classic. But the journey to get to the end game and yeah, all that, especially with the dungeon timers they're going to be doing, so that you're not going to be able to level just in dungeons and just by tanking groups means that it's going to be a long, slow, painful process, and I honestly can't recommend it. So, that being said, that's really all I've got for you on the Warrior. Uh, Tips and tricks. Yeah, I already said make sure you level cooking. Pick up alchemy and herbalism. Please make it easier on yourself. Be damn sure you're leveling first aid because you need that after every other pull, pretty much. Uh, I do a macro for my stances as well that I put on the side button of my mouse, and the macro is really easy. It's just backslash cast battle stance backslash cast defensive stance, and I can switch between those stances with one of my mouse buttons. Later on, when I get Berserker stance, I put that on my middle mouse button so that I can switch between all three stances at will and use different abilities. So if you get if the enemy dodges, you can switch over to battle stance, hit them with overpower real quick. If you are planning on tanking as a warrior, I can tell you that protection specialization does, more than enough on threat. You just have to learn how to build for it. And what you're looking for is block value for your shield as a prot warrior. And the reason for that is that shield slam is going to scale with the block value of your shield. So the more block value of your shield you have, the more threat you get out of your shield slam. And that's one of your best threat generating abilities in WoW Classic. So it's definitely worth building around that. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. Be sure to pick up a ranged weapon as soon as you can so you can pull from range without having to charge in. That's going to help you keep from pulling more than you meant to on a lot of pulls. And yeah, now that's literally everything I can think of to help you on the warrior. It's just, yeah, I don't have much good to say about the warrior. I'm sorry. Usually I can come up with quite a bit, but for each class, but for this one, I just don't have a lot good to say. They are a lot of fun. They're very challenging to play well, but Yeah, that's all I've got to say about it, though. Be sure to leave me a comment if you disagree or if you find something else that you think I forgot to mention. But this right here on the gameplay is actually a good example of what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I'm gonna die here. But that's all I've got for you. So be sure to leave me a like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think about the video, and I'll see you in the next one.